Today, we're going to talk about taking a trip to St. Lucia. St. Lucia is a great warm weather getaway in the middle of the winter. If you live in a cold place, we first identified St. Lucia as a wonderful place to go to because we knew we wanted to visit the Caribbean. And a lot of the flights to different islands were $800, $1,000 a head uh, for a long weekend in the middle of January. Now, we live in New York, and the combination of the flights being three or $400 a head, as well as there being a really unique property that we're going to talk about that we stayed at, um, made it just really easy. And again, like direct flight, that was fantastic. Uh, and the weather was just, was perfect. It's a little bit less rainy in the middle of January in the Caribbean. So to lay the land here, we're going to go through quite a bit. Must-dos, activities, events, must-eats, where to stay, budget, time range, the whole nine yards. If you want, you can read through the full article here, or just watch the video. Most of what makes, and you can see just how beautiful the island is. I mean, what makes it unique, and we'll get into this, is the Pitons, not the Tetons, but the Pitons. Beautiful 3,000-foot volcanic sort of mountains that rise out of the ocean. In general, we did not move around a lot. So just to give you a lay of the land here, St. Lucia is not a very big island. It's maybe, I think, about 30 or 40 miles long. It is kind of at the end of the island chain from New York. It took us about 3.5 to 4 hours to get there on a direct flight. There are two airports, so you either fly into the north or the south. But we spent most of our time in the southwest, which is kind of where the rainforest is and the Pitons, right? Another thing that really attracted us to St. Lucia as an idea was it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So those two Pitons, those two volcanic mountains, uh, they are of some of the most beautiful places you could go type lists, right? So we really thought that was unique. But again, in general, we stayed at an estate that didn't have us moving around that much. We spent a lot of time on the southwest coast in what's called Soufriere. You can get the day-wise breakdown here on the map, but again, it's not going to be as helpful as just kind of knowing you're going to be spending most of your time in this place. Once you get uh, a taxi from the South Airport to Soufriere, it's about 40 minutes. You'll be good, right? So we actually, as opposed to other trips we've taken, knew we wanted more of a lay on the beach type of trip, but we still had the adventure baked into it, right? So let's jump into the must-dos here. So Gros Piton, that's the bigger of the two. The other one, I think, is Petit Piton. You can do a hike around that. If you stay at the hotel we stayed at, they have a guided hike you can take. Sugar Beach, and we'll look at these on the map. Sugar Beach, you can see just how close they are, is kind of the top beach to go to in Soufriere. It is also the name of a resort that's on the more expensive end, right? So Sugar Beach, it does have a public beach. It's not just for folks who stay at the resort, so you can go there, and it's situated right between the two pitons, right? So you can see them kind of on the map here, and it's just gorgeous, like seeing the both of them at once. Additionally, we've got the Buccaneers Sunset Cruise. So this was a cruise that our hotel set up for us, and that we'll talk more about was Hotel Rabbit. That was gorgeous. We saw, as you can see here, this is one of our photos. We saw a rainbow, which was just majestic. Really enjoyed that. And Project Chocolat. So if you stay at Hotel Rabbit, you will get the opportunity to take a tour of the cocoa farm or cacao farms. They say it all sorts of different ways. And it's really cool. Soufriere has a lot of cocoa farms, but so does the whole island. And it's a really interesting story. They've actually totally changed the economy of St. Lucia over the past 10 or 15 years towards, a large bulk of their exports being cocoa. And this actually is an experience that not only do you get to tour the farm, the estate, you get to actually make your own chocolate bar from chocolate you'll have seen on the tour. Additionally, the sulfur-springs, this is something we really enjoyed. There are natural hot springs and geysers near the rainforest here, not too far from Hotel Rabbit. And for $10, you can just jump in to the mud pits and get like a really satisfying sort of mud bath, if you will. And then let me see if I missed anything. Oh, that's a good rundown. Let's move to activities. So we talked about Project Chocolat. Another thing you can do is the rainforest picnic. And again, I'll probably refrain from using the map too much because it's all just so close together. But the rainforest picnic, that is something that Hotel Rabbit can set up for you. Again, just a beautiful sort of respite in the middle of nature. And again, most of the activities are were covered in the must-dos. Events wise, in St. Lucia, a lot of the events fall sort of in the summer months between May and October. We didn't do any events when we were there because we went around MLK Day in January, but there are, I think, block party events every Friday from Hotel Rabbit that you can do, and I think it's either free or very cheap. That's in the north near, I think it's called Castries, the north of the island. In the middle of the summer, these events, again, I can't confirm if they're worth the effort to get to the island just for them, but they do sound pretty cool. One of them is centered around Carnival, and they're all basically centered around music. For must eats, the coolest thing, I think, one of the coolest things we did in relation to eating was this floating breakfast. So we really enjoyed that at Hotel Rabbit. We were able to actually just like float in the pool in front of the Piton and eat our breakfast. It was just really magical. Uh, and again, like the Hotel Rabbit has its own restaurant. A lot of it's chocolate inspired food. So not only the breakfast is chocolate inspired, the dinner is chocolate inspired, and even the bar is chocolate inspired too. So just keep in mind, like if you like chocolate, this is the place for you, but it will be a lot of chocolate. If you don't want to over-index on chocolate, I do recommend Dasheen. It's across the street. You can walk there from Hotel Rabbit. Um, Dasheen is at another resort called Ladera. And what's cool about this is you can watch the sunset between the two pitons in front of Sugar Beach while you eat. So if you go at about 5:30 or 6, you can watch the full sunset, and it's just an incredible experience. I've actually not seen a sunset like it, and it was just incredible. So highly recommend that. In terms of where to stay, so I've mentioned a few of these already. Hotel Rabbit is what I would recommend. It's about $500 a night, so it's not cheap. Nowhere in the Caribbean is actually cheap in the middle of winter. That is actually one of the cheaper spots if you want a 4.5-ish star hotel or higher. What we loved about Rabbit was uh, it's a little higher up, so it's almost constantly about 74 degrees. The actual hotel rooms are open air, as you can see here. There's no heating or cooling. It's always 74 degrees. There's an outdoor shower, which was my favorite part. Um, and it's not too buggy because they have a bug net around the bed, but the view is astonishing. And I thought it was a happy medium in price between Sugar Beach and Ladera. The other two options would be those, right? So Ladera is a little bit more expensive than Hotel Rabbit, and Sugar Beach is, 3 or 4 times the price of Hotel Rabbit. But Ladera gives you more of that view of the ocean, and Sugar Beach is you're on the ocean. You could get a private villa, cabana on the beach itself, and just really just kind of lounge out. Now we went for 4 days. It was about $1,000 a day, everything considered. We did do a lot. We did splurge a little bit. We had massages. Hotel Rabbit has a spa. We did a sunset cruise. Everything accounted for end to end, door to door, about $4,000. Time range wise, I would say, you know, we felt 4 days was great. We could have easily gone for 5. Longer than a week would be probably not necessary in St. Lucia. There's only so much to do. If you're someone who enjoys relaxing for that long, go ahead. But we didn't really but feel like we needed to spend that much time there. And then in terms of when to go, I mean, if you go in the summer, it'll be cheaper because fewer people are trying to get to a warm weather destination in the middle of the Caribbean. If you go in the winter, know that it's probably one of the more accessible Caribbean islands out there in terms of direct flights and flight costs and just lodging options that are, around $500 a night. It's not easy to find Caribbean hotels for under $800-900 a night nowadays. We talked a little bit about the logistics. What I would recommend in general is flying into the south, right, into the south airport, and then just getting a car. They don't really use Uber, so just flag a taxi you see at the airport. It'll be about 30 or 40 bucks, and it'll be about 30 or 40 minutes to get to Soufriere. Splurges, again, we'll kind of just gloss over this. Sugar Beach would be the only thing we could think of, right? It's going to be about $2,000 a night, but it is incredible and it is definitely worth the money. Wishlist, we did not have time to get to Pigeon Island. Really like the idea of it though. It's an old British fort. It's near the north end of the island, and it just looks extremely beautiful. And then Marigot Bay. Marigot Bay is a sort of waterfront type swim spot, and again, that's in the north as well. So you can see that on the map up here. And some of the resources. So for us, we actually found Rabbit Hotel through Michelin Guide. I would recommend Michelin Guide and booking it through them because we actually got about $100 a night, I think, off booking through it, and they respected the price from Michelin Guide. So download the Michelin Guide app and take a look at that. Otherwise, we've got some additional sort of resources we looked at here for um, before we planned our trip. And gallery, yeah, I mean, so one thing that's kind of cool here is also at the top. If you go to Hotel Rabbit, you know that it's going to rain on and off like any random minute. It could be raining 1 minute, and then 3 minutes later it rains again for just 60 seconds, and so on and so forth. It's because it's in an actual rainforest. So just be mindful of that. And take a look at our gallery. I think you've seen most of these photos, but in general, that is a just over 10-minute recap of St. Lucia. Really wonderful place, very unique. If you like the nature side, but also having the luxury and you want to go to the Caribbean, St. Lucia could be a great option for you.